styles here on campus. We are gonna have a lot of fun things. I'm super excited. We are bringing some professionals in to give you guys facials, manicures, and haircuts. So we'll have professional people, haircuts, facials, and manicures. So to do that, you will have to schedule an appointment though. Okay, I know it's exciting, I know, but I need you to listen to get the information. And so along with that, it's gonna be $20 to $25 per haircut, manicure, and facial. And then if you'd like to come, okay. If you'd like to come, RSVP using the girls' dean's phone and then girls' dean's email. And then next Monday starting, we're starting our Valentine's thing. So we're gonna have candygrams, flowers for you to send to a friend, significant other, or your favorite teacher or someone you just care for.
All right, so I have a question for you guys. How many of you guys remember home vespers? Raise your hand if you remember home vespers. Yeah, a couple seniors. Okay, so we are bringing back home vespers. If you don't know what home vespers is, it's basically you sign up and you go to a faculty's house or an adult's house and you spend the time there doing vespers a little bit differently. They're also gonna be giving you a home-cooked meal. So I know for you dorm students, maybe you don't like the hot dogs on Friday night. That's okay. You'll be able to go to somebody's home to have a home-cooked meal. So if you want to sign up for home vespers, Pastor Eddie is going to have sign-up sheets outside of his office on the glass windows. So what you do is basically, on Monday. So first we're going to have the dorm students who are going to be here next week. If you're going to be here next week, dorm students sign up first. And then for those extra spots, we'll have the village kids sign up. So what's going to happen is if you are going to home vespers, village kids, you have to come here to get picked up by the mentors and by the people who will bring you to their homes. So sign up for home vespers, dorm kids first. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My announcement is Operation Hope is putting on Kids Church tomorrow. So you're all invited. It'll be a lot of fun. It's put on, but it'll have kids just being in it from the church, and also some of I believe Jaden is speaking for the sermon, so that'll be exciting. Please come. And then my second announcement is there is going to be another blood drive. So if you remember the one that happened in October, that was super fun. You get community service for it. This one will be February 15th and 16th, and sign-ups will be at lunch next week, so you can get more information there. You have to be 16 years or older to participate. So those of you who had a birthday in between October and now, and you're 16, you can participate now. So please sign up next week at lunch.
All righty, tonight, last home game of the season for basketball. So be there starting at 3:30. You cannot miss class though, so come after class.
So tomorrow, the junior class will be selling boba in the cafeteria. So this is to raise money for JSB, so especially juniors and seniors. If you want to get the price down for banquet, go buy boba.
Everybody. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'll add one thing real quick to what Pastor Jaden said about the home vespers. Pick up for that, and I'll send this information out in email too, so if you forget, it's all right. Pick up for that. We'll start at 4:30 next Friday. But my announcement is some of you may have noticed a random white mailbox in the hallway as you go in through the main doors. Immediately when you turn right, there's this mailbox that's been there. That is going to be a prayer box, and we haven't labeled it yet, but it will be labeled and identified as such. But it's just an opportunity for you if there's something specifically going on in your life that you want myself, campus ministries team to pray over. We also have a group of moms of some of our students that have started a prayer ministry group that they meet here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. When we go to school. They come here and pray over the school, over any students. They also want to be praying over those. So if you have something that you need to express or that's on your heart, you need prayer for, drop it in that mailbox. It's locked, so no one has access to it except myself and the Tuesday morning prayer group. So it's locked. No other student can get in there. And if it's something that you don't want to be known for, then just leave your name out. Stay anonymous. We'll still pray over it. But if you don't mind and you want specific prayer to you, then add your name. Thank you.
My announcement is for banquet. Yay. Casaloma. Casaloma is, the banquet theme is going to be date night. It's going to be a casual banquet. It is going to be March 2nd, the 2nd of March. The prices will be, for dorm, will be $20. For village, will be $25. And each week, the price increases. I lied, March 5th, the 5th of March.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be really fun, guys, so make sure you come. We have posters coming out on Monday. Amen. Wait.
You'll be able to pay for it on the poster. There's going to be a QR code on the poster, and the poster will be up on Monday.
Thank you.
Just checking any last announcements as we get ready. I know we had a wonderful busy week last week with the Walla Walla University Friendship Tournament. It was a great time happening over there at the University Tournament. Next week, another 15, 16 of you are going to Walla Walla University for Band Festival. So there are these little markers in life that you experience in high school. Tomorrow, my friends, is a marker that you may recall from when you were an 8th grader and you maybe came to Academy Days. And remember coming to Academy Days? And that was a big shift, a big change. Tomorrow we will have guests on campus. And our opportunity to meet with them, a number of you are going to be interacting with them and helping them visit our campus. Put a smile on your face. Remember, think about being that person that smiled at you when you were walking through last year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I can still remember my group leader from when I was an 8th grader, because she was really kind of hot and she was she was really pretty. And I was like, wow, you know? Okay, transparent moment there. I was an 8th grader. She was a senior. I thought she was good looking. All right, moving on. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah. Enough said. Let's come together, everyone. Apologize for that. It's good to be back home. It's good to be back home. Seriously, it's good to be back home. I have been gone with the tournament and then through meetings through a week that we'll probably all remember in one way or another. And I want to talk about that and kind of walk through. And first of all, I'm going to start this by saying thank you to the amazingness that is Auburn Adventist Academy. Thank you for walking through this week. And thank you for going through this journey and learning experience for all of us. It was difficult, and there were almost every day in that process, I was thinking about maybe needing to come home and just make sure, but there were amazing people, specifically Mr. Underhill, that helped navigate what we walked through. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the nuances and share with you kind of what we did in having an experience. Question? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Auburn gear tomorrow. If you got jerseys, if you got a coat, sweatshirt, blue and yellow, it'd be kind of cool for our Academy Day. Thank you. I lost my train of thought. How did I do that? I don't know. Yes. On Monday, we weren't here in class. And that came about because of safety, first and foremost. Every single faculty, staff member, every person that works here on the campus, we are mandated reporters. And let me tell you what a mandated reporter does for society. A mandated reporter, nurses, doctors, teachers, healthcare professionals, counselors, we do our best to be the eyes and ears for, in some cases, first responders. The reason we practice our drills here for a fire alarm is so that we are ready and prepared to participate for first responders. And as mandated reporters, we take your safety. You know this, we've talked about this at times. We take the safety of you on this campus significantly. It is probably one of the most important things that we do. So based on circumstances which were shared in some emails about a concern of a threat, the call was made on Sunday night to not bring us on campus. And that was a precaution. That was a safety step. I just want to say to you, again, you did a great job. The dorms, I heard great things about the dorms. I think the dorms would do anything to have Pastor Eddie bring donuts over in the middle of the day. The faculty and staff leaned in and gave you some time outside of the dormitories until we had the all clear Monday evening. You at Village, you sheltered at home. And the nuances of a situation like what we had on Monday, the vast majority of us had never experienced. So I asked Mrs. Richards to share just a little bit, because in our chat, in Google Chat, she wrote a couple paragraphs. So Mrs. Richards, if you come on forward, she put in a couple comments and thoughts in our chat with faculty and staff that gave perspective. Because I've worked through a number of different drills. I've never really practiced in depth this type of situation or drill. So Mrs. Richards, if you come up and share for just a moment on what your own life experience as an educator has been with these types of situations.
I'm sure I'm not the only one who has been in lockdown drills and in actual lockdowns before. How many of you, either in public school or in private school, have actually experienced it for real in other situations? I'm sure I'm not the only one. Yeah, before this one, yeah. Because the reality is, and unfortunately, it's not a happy reality, honestly, if we think about it, but the reality is it is fairly commonplace, right? And if you are out in the world, or you're in public school, or you're in a school that is in an area that may lend to that more, it can happen fairly often. One of the schools that I worked at when I was working in public school, it wasn't a bad school by any means. It was a great school, but we definitely had influence around the school, I shall say, that lended to some behaviors that were not ideal from students. And we pretty much, the year I was there, we pretty much had a lockdown every single week. And it was unfortunately commonplace. Like I said, I don't actually like that it's commonplace, but it was every single week. And for the most part, those lockdowns would clear in about a couple hours or less than an hour, depending on what was happening. And they ranged from anywhere from a student or a group of students or a couple of students making a verbal threat or making a threat online or just saying something in class. Or in one case, one of the lockdowns, well, actually a couple of the lockdowns were from my own classroom. I had to call him into the office because I had a student who had an anger issue, and he started throwing chairs and books around the classroom, and so I had to get all the other students out, and then I had to tell the office that, hey, he's in there losing it, and then he ran out, and so then, of course, it has to turn into a lockdown, because now he's on the loose, and we have to find him, so then we all had to lock down. Anyway, and that one took a little longer than the usual ones. So it does happen. It's not to downplay it by any means, and it's not to downplay any fear in it. Of course, there's always a little bit of fear in it, but the reality is it does happen. And for the most part, I would say 95% of the time, unless it happened where I was present and I knew what had happened, I didn't actually know what had happened. Does that make sense? Like, they would call a lockdown, we would get that alert either on our phones or in our email, and then we get the all clear an hour or so later, and we never knew what it was for necessarily, unless there was further information that they gave us. So that is also commonplace, is to kind of feel like you're in the dark a little bit, like feel like I don't know what happened, but you do know the procedures. And I know that that's something that we're going to keep working on, is like, what do we do if we don't know what's happening, but we still know what we're supposed to do, right, in that scenario? So again, I'm not downplaying it by any means, and I do think you should process it, and I think you should process the fear that you felt during that time and those kinds of things. But the one thing I really, really want to encourage you guys, you know, having been in a situation where it was fairly commonplace, and then what happened this, you know, on Monday, if you see something, say something, right? Because it isn't funny, right? And it isn't okay. And even if you're like, oh, they're just joking, you have to ask yourself the question, what if they're not? Right? And unfortunately, the reality of our world, and you guys, I wish this wasn't our reality. I wish you guys didn't grow up in this, but the reality is school shootings happen. Bad things happen. We've seen it over and over and over again, right? And so what I would encourage you to do, instead of being afraid, for one thing, we have a big, strong God on our side, right? And there is nothing that stands between him and his power. But if you do have that, you know, that gut feeling, or if you hear someone say something that's off, even if you're not sure, even if you're like, I don't know what they meant by that, report it. I do as a teacher. I report it. And even if I'm like, I don't know what that was, I'm just going to report it. I'm going to document it, because in case it was something, it should be followed up on. And I can promise you right now, even if they're your friend, right? If they are saying stuff that is making you uncomfortable, or they are talking about dark subject matters, or they're making threatening comments, even if they're like, just joking, it's not funny, they need help. Okay? And that doesn't make you a snitch. That doesn't make you a bad person. That makes you someone doing what they need you to do, and that's getting them help. And even if they aren't threatening someone else, but they're threatening themselves, get them that help. You can do it anonymously. We have provided ways at the school to do it anonymously. And we ask you guys, you want a safe school environment, you want to be in a school where lockdowns don't happen every week, we need your help. You guys are way more interconnected than we are with you, right? We hear things later sometimes. You guys know they're happening now. And we all know you guys are on social media all the time, right? Okay? And the other thing to think about, the other takeaway from this is when we're running these drills and running these things, whatever they may be, take them seriously. Take them seriously so you're practiced and you're ready to go, and that when that adrenaline and that fear kicks in, you're still knowing what to do instead of being a victim, right? And then the other thing is, if you are joking, don't post stupid stuff, right? Like, don't joke about that. It's not funny. It's never funny. So think about that. If you're like, I'm going to make a joke about, bombing. So, no, not funny. There's never a scenario where that's funny, right? So think about that too. And those are the things that I would take away from this is, for one, like I said, God's got us. Don't let that stand. Don't let fear get in the way of believing in God and that he's got us. Remember, guys, there's a lot of things in this world that can hurt us, but we can't live it in fear. And God calls us to live a life without fear, right? The second thing is, see something, say something. Hear something, see it posted, say something. When we do the drills, take it seriously so that when you practice, you know what to do when the fear kicks in. And then the last thing is, don't be stupid. right? Don't post something. Don't say something that's not funny, right?
Thank you very, very much. So in cooperation with then the greater Academy community and then in first responders, we make regular communication to first responders even in non-emergency situations. There are non-emergency phone lines that we connect with law enforcement, with fire department, and those communications happen at times that you may never know. In this situation, it was in regular communication with law enforcement as they were helping us to ascertain the level of the threat. And as I hope you caught what Mrs. Richards said, again, this is brand new for myself. This is a learning experience. She mentioned that over 95% of the time, it's just an all clear, and we go back to business as usual. And there's some nuances to that. There's some reasoning behind that. But cooperation is huge, and she just asked for you to cooperate with us. We are so blessed in the safety that we do have on this campus. And I just praise God for the environment that we're able to have. But your cooperation is priceless. Help us keep this school a safe place. So we make that we cooperate with the community, with the city, with first responders. The fire department comes through and they know our campus well, as does law enforcement. There's a gate. I don't know if you knew that there's a gate out on Auburn Way South that's called a fire gate. So if for some reason they couldn't get into the campus on the front side, they have a key to that gate that's off of, when you're driving away from campus, there's a gate out there by the campground. They can get on campus that way. They have keys and access to all our gates and to all of our buildings because of their need to get in and help us at different times. We also then, communication. Communication in times like these, especially when it's a little bit longer, can be one of the things that we're wondering. And typically what happens in crisis situations such as this, and just to help us understand this, and we're going to fine-tune this with safety management, communication is necessary when there's new information to be shared. So typically you get updates when there's new information that is different than the previous message. Sometimes it can be closer together, like on Sunday evening I said, maybe it was Monday, I said watch for communication as to our status, and then within an hour, I think it was, we had the all clear sign. So that was quicker because we weren't sure when it would come out, but we wanted to touch base to let you know that it was we were going to communicate what our status was going to be for Tuesday. So communication, if it was happening all the time, and if it was like every 30 minutes and nothing's changed, we want you to know that when there is a change in status that is significant, that communication is made to the greater community, to the board, to the faculty and staff, to parents and students. Confidentiality is important for all concerned parties. We want to give grace. You and I both have probably done things where we wish that maybe it wasn't as obvious as at other times. And at all times, regardless of what the situation is, sometimes confidentiality is one of the greatest things you can give to friends, to colleagues, and in this situation, the confidentiality of parties involved is something that is maintained. Going back to Mrs. Richards' point again, the all clear is given without any information shared as to why everything was ready to go back to business as usual. Some of you are going to be in groups where your confidentiality is going to be expected and asked. You're going to be charged with making a decision at your law firm, or you're going to be in a court case and you're going to be negotiating. You may be a defender, you may be a defense attorney, you may be the prosecuting attorney. You're going to find yourself at your company, or somebody later in your life is going to come to you and say, I need to share something with somebody. I need your confidence. You may end up serving, many of you will end up serving on a church board or a school board or a community organization board. And your confidentiality, friends, you have to make that decision. That's a core value for who you are. And attach that confidentiality is to also not overthink what others aren't able to share with you. Does that make sense? Don't overthink or create rumors about what others aren't sharing with you. If you don't know it for fact, then don't create well, I think it's this, I think it's that, regardless of the situation, because that at some point is going to impact somebody. So in this situation, the details are not something that's going to be shared. We have an all clear sign on Monday, and we're continuing to finish processing this with law enforcement. But that experience is not something that is regularly shared with the greater community. Sometimes it makes the news. Sometimes it's maybe a threat. I think I've seen where threats have been called into a news agency. Well, that news agency is going to report on that. And then in school situations, we are also dealing with the majority of you being minor children. And the rights of minor children and the confidentiality for minor children, there's a different level degree of responsibility for that. We're going to go and continue to ask ourselves what questions are most commonly asked. A few times we've done frequently asked questions for different events. We're going to do a frequently asked question for lockdowns, for fire drills, for emergency communication. And we're going to think of every single question that is possible. We'll probably run it by some of you as students and parents, say, what other questions are we not thinking of that we can answer in a one-page document or a two-page document? So that if you're like, all right, friends, we are under this situation and the power's out, here's the frequently asked question for power outage. And we'll send it out in a Jupiter message. Here's a frequently asked question about lockdowns. And we'll do the same thing, because we can create those documents. We can remind ourselves of what those questions are a couple times a year and then answer them again, kind of like we're doing today. And then, collaboration. I just want to say, being away from campus when this happened, that's just super difficult when I feel a high responsibility for all of you. And that's my call to mission. That's my ministry. And at multiple times throughout as I stated, at multiple times throughout the weekend and into the week, I was about ready to pack up and come back over. And do you know why I didn't have to? It's because of Mr. Underhill. Because Mr. Underhill had my back. And Mr. Underhill has worked a whole extra week's worth of work this week on top of teaching his classes and being here all day. That collaboration with fellow classmates, your life best friends, your people you can trust, that collaboration between the faculty and staff, priceless. And that's what makes the beauty of our school so wonderful, is that we have the opportunity to not only collaborate together, but then as we think through that, to slow down and collaborate with Jesus Christ. That transitions our lives in ways that we just could never understand. So before Mr. Underhill comes up and closes, I just want to say, Mr. Underhill, we were successful this week because of you, sir.
You said it is always a team effort, and it is not one that any individual does. It takes a group. I want to echo what Mrs. Richards talked about, living in fear and choice. When we don't know, our human nature is to get on that hamster wheel of trying to make up a narrative that makes sense in our mind. And what I have found when we try to make up a narrative is 99.999% of the time, we are so far out in left field that we're not even close to reality. The anxiety button sets in. Oh, well, it must be this, and it's got to be. No, it's not. Some of you may have heard the term making a mountain out of a molehill. Anybody heard that before? Wait until you find out. It's hard not knowing, but it's really important as you move into your adult life that you embrace that not knowing and be okay with not knowing. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. That's okay. Because I know who knows what's happening tomorrow. And a hope for you. And you can rest in that. So let's pray, and I'll let you get back to classes. Father God, thank you that you do bring your angels and you have that hedge of protection around this campus. I pray that you bring that hedge of protection on each of these students, that you would let them rest in you, and knowing that you have them, that you care for them, that you love them unconditionally, more than they can even imagine. So God, as we go through the rest of our day, we ask for your blessing, that you would just continue to walk with us. In your name, amen. Have a wonderful day.